Jenny of Jenny Stitches and welcome back to my channel today. Thank you for joining me. Today's vlog or video is all going to be about your questions, answering your questions. I popped up a community post just over a week ago now and asked on Instagram as well for anything you want to ask me. So I have a list. I've typed them all up and printed them out. I have my coffee. It's Friday tea time at the moment, so I'll be on my way home soon. So I'm hoping to get this uploaded for you over the weekend. Fingers crossed it's not taking too long to get it to you. So I'm going to dive right in and we'll start at the top. So I can use reader. So the first question is from Victoria and she asks, what do you like to do outside of sewing and running your business? And which fabric in store is your favourite at the moment? That's 2 questions. So, outside of sewing and running my business, well, recently it's felt like there isn't much else other than sewing and running my business. It has definitely taken over my life to a degree. But I guess like a lot of us, once a crafty person, always a crafty person. I really like to knit and sort of anything crafty like takes my eye. I'm really into fitness. I might not look it, but I really like running when I get the time. Over the last couple of years since I started the business, that's definitely taken a back seat. But I do like to run, and I like to run with my local running club, which is Walney Wind Cheaters. We are not a serious running club. We're very much a friendly sort of group. It's all very casual and that's nice. I used to do park run all the time before I started the shop, but then obviously Saturdays are just a no-go now. But I love running for the mental health benefits and for the social aspect, and also for just time by myself. It's really sort of precious time. I've got 2 young children, so time on my own is a bit of a gift. Sorry about the interruption there. Somebody always tries to come in when I'm filming. Yeah, so I like to run. I also like to cycle. Although my bike did not come out of the garage at all last year, which needs to be rectified. I enjoy swimming as well. I'm hoping this year to do a 2-mile open water swim. Because I want to complete the London Classics. So if you've never heard of that, you've got to do the London Marathon, the 100-mile Ride London, Surrey bike ride, which we've done. So I now need to swim 2 miles in the Serpentine to get a London Classics medal. I'm going to put a picture of it in there because it's awesome. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that I'm into. I like a bit of weightlifting. I like going out for walks with my family, being in the countryside, and I love my garden. My garden's a big part of my life, if you will. It got me through a very, very dark time when we lost our daughter, and yeah, I love it. This time of year is so exciting. Seeds are going in, new plans for the year. So yeah, I hope that gives you a little bit of a background on what I like to do in my spare time. Which fabric in the shop is my favourite at the moment? Let me just grab that for you. Here's one I prepared earlier. It's this one. So this is a beautiful new viscose jersey which has just come in. It's pretty hard to narrow it down to just one. It's like choosing a favourite child. But yeah, pretty much every time I get new fabrics in, I get a new favourite, and this is the most recent, but it's cheering me up. It's sort of very spring feel to it with the blossoms on. And that one is called Summer Meadow viscose jersey, but it's very, very pretty. So that's my favourite today. Next week that might change when I get some more in. Okay, so the next one is from Aim. I hope I've said that okay. And she says, I love your blogs. Thank you. How long have you had the shop, and is your background in sewing/textiles, retail, or a mix? And what motivates you? Oh, they are good questions. So I have been in this shop since June of last year. But I started the business in May 2019, and I started off with a market stall across the road in Barrow's Indoor Market, and I had a single market stall which was sort of 3 meters by 3 meters. Yeah, and I started off from very humble beginnings in there, and then in 2020 I expanded into the stall next door. That became vacant and I wanted a bit more space, so quite dramatically knocked the wall down between the two stalls. Got it all set up. That was in February 2020. I launched the website at that point, and then literally a week after we opened the second stall, COVID appeared. So I mean, yeah, when I think back about it now, we were kind of making almost jokes, like on that launch day we were like, oh well, you know, we might not be here next week, and it literally happened. And it shocks me sometimes to think how unreal it all seemed at the time. And yeah, when you think about the last couple of years, in retrospect, it's too much to handle. And obviously that was a very, very challenging time. I can remember going home and I remember just standing in the shower and crying for ages because I'd just opened my beautiful new stall with all the new stock in it, and then all of a sudden it just felt like somebody had pulled the rug and it was completely out of my control, and I was just really, really worried for the future of my business at that point. But my saving grace was that I had decided to set up the online shop in the January of that year, and we'd spent, lovely Simon who does my web design and we'd spent about 3 months getting the design finalised, photographing things, uploading products. It took a long time to build the website, so I was ready to hit the ground running in lockdown. And I pivoted it all for local delivery, and then everybody was making masks and elastic, and it just went crazy from there. So I had a very busy sort of time in the first lockdown, and it was around that time that I decided that actually, even though I only had a week trading in my new double stall, that I knew that I would need more space. So as it happened, somebody put me in touch with the guys that were renovating this particular building, and yeah, they were renovating this building for about a year, and I had to wait for most of that time for it to be done. I knew that it was going to be available, and I knew it would be worth the wait because everything would be brand new. I love the position of where the shop is. I love the double aspect windows. I knew it was perfect for me, but the wait to actually get in here was agonising. So yeah, that's how long. So I'm coming up to nearly 3 years now since I started this business, and I'm really proud of it. It's, you know, it's not like an overnight success. I think that's a very rare thing for people. You've really hit on something if you do get that overnight success, and yeah, it's definitely down to a lot of hard work. My background is not in sewing and textiles. Sewing has always been a hobby of mine since I was about 21. I'm 36 now. I have to think about that. My mum has always sewn, so sewing's always been a part of my life, but I didn't actually take it on myself until I was in my early 20s. My background is actually, I'm a chartered accountant, and I had a very good job up until just after my third child was born. So when I was on maternity leave, I didn't want to go back. I'd been back to work after, obviously after my son, and then after my second baby, but I'd only been back in work for maybe 3 or 4 weeks part-time after having my second baby when she passed away. And when it came to having Juliet, my third baby, my little girl, I just didn't want to miss anything at that point, so I handed my notice in and stayed at home for a couple of years. And I've always known that I wanted my own business. It was just a case of what and when. And yeah, it fell about by accident really. I never thought I would have a business that had anything to do with my passions and my hobbies, because I always felt like that area locally was very saturated. But then several of the local sewing shops closed due to retirement, and there was nowhere else left to buy dressmaking fabric in our town. And I kind of joked to my husband about it, and he just said, why not? So I guess from the outside it looks a little bit daft to give up a good career in accountancy, and yeah, but that being said, prior to that, obviously I've had other jobs whilst I was at college, and I've also been at university. So I've actually worked in web design, and I've worked in retail, and I've worked in bars and restaurants. So there's a lot of different skills that even from 20 years ago now have sort of converged to come into this job. So simple things from operating tills when I was working in Asda and the co-op, to dealing with people in bars and having to be personable, and web design skills from when I was 16, and now all of a sudden forming this package of skills and all the things that I've seen in various businesses while I've been in accountancy. It just all comes together to create a whole me. So yeah, it's really nice to use all those skills, and now I'm having to develop new skills on top of that, which, you know, is great, because I love to learn and I love to be challenged. So a mix is the answer to your question. And what motivates me? Oh, that is a good question. I don't really know. I guess just a hunger to learn and develop and achieve, and that achievement doesn't necessarily have to be a monetary thing. I just get a lot of enjoyment out of simple things like seeing a customer come back and say how happy they were with what they've done, or thank me for their advice, or to see my business grow from the market to here now. Like all those little achievements are what get me out of bed in the morning, basically. And yeah, and I know obviously I'm motivated because I absolutely love sewing and I love the fabric, and it's just a privilege. Well, there we go. That was a long answer. You have my life story. Okay, Annette asks, hi Jenny, I was wondering how you do your buying. Do you stick to one supplier or buy from several? And do you just buy what you can, or do you buy with specific fabrics in mind? Also, how have you found the transition between market stall and high street retail? Two very good questions there, really. So I think I've had 3 or 4 questions about buying fabric. It seems to be what people are interested in, is how do I buy fabric? Because I will be honest and say there is no great science to it. It is not something that there's a set pattern to, no sort of trade secret. I tend to just buy things that I think will sell. And I guess the golden rule of buying anything for business is not to buy the things that you like, but to buy the things that you think your customers will like. However, I like just about everything, so there is nothing in this shop that I personally wouldn't want to use, and I think that really helps having a very broad range of tastes personally. Oh, this is a lot of talking, even for me. So yeah, I buy from lots of different suppliers, as many different ones as I possibly can, because I like a lot of variety. I do have sort of maybe 4 to 5 that I use on a very regular basis, and then others that I tend to supplement, dip in and out of. But I'm always on the lookout for new and interesting suppliers that are going to supply something a little bit different. In terms of what I buy, these days I tend to take a look at the shelves and see what's missing, you know, in terms of my range. Do I need to buy some more viscoses because I've sold loads in the last month? Or like I'm looking at cotton jerseys now and thinking, there's a lot of children's prints, but I maybe need to get more for the ladies, that kind of thing. I tend to pick and try and go for a broad range of colours. That can sometimes be challenging, and prints as well, because nearly everything that I see from a wholesale perspective is floral, and don't get me wrong, I love florals, but not everybody does. And yeah, it's sort of trying to find good non-floral prints. That can be a challenge. I tend to look at the shelves a lot and think, right, what are the balance of colours? Do I maybe need more reds? Do I maybe need like some yellow in there? Do I need more plains? That kind of thing. So it's very much on balance of looking at what I've got and trying to fill gaps. And that's also played into by the key thing is listening to my customers. So if they are coming in and repeatedly asking for something that I don't have, then there's a gap that I need to fill and I need to go and look for those sorts of fabrics. Or if I'm selling loads of something and everybody's saying that they love it, things like at this time of year, like French terry, everybody wants sweatshirting and warm things. So I can basically go off that kind of a thing. And yeah, and just a little bit of, another way I sometimes try to look at it is I'll look either in my wardrobe or in the shops and think, okay, garments like that, what are they made of? Or, you know, like kind of try and find useful fabrics, because we're talking about building a wardrobe, not just craft supplies. So we want them to be practical, and also it can be guided a lot by the patterns as well. So if I've got particular pattern designs in and I think, oh, I don't have that type of fabric, then I'll go and try and find it to try and have as wide a range of dressmaking fabrics as possible. How have I found the transition between market stall and high street resale? Really, really good is the answer to that question. Great. There is significantly more footfall in terms of people walking up and down this street than there ever was coming into the market hall, which is a shame. I don't really know why people didn't want to cross that threshold. There's a lot to offer in Barrow Market, and yeah, if you're local you should go and check it out more often because there's some gems in there. But yeah, it's good. There's a lot of things in terms of graduating from there to here, like the freedom to come and go as I choose. Like things like to be able to film this vlog, I couldn't film in the market. It was always noisy, there would be always other people about. I'm just saying that as people are just walking past shouting as well. So yeah, all in all, it's great. And obviously now I've got the luxury of shop windows, of a little kitchen and my own toilet, which is like one of my personal favourite things. So yeah, that's a good question. Okay, Yvonne asks, hi Jenny, what type of fabric do you enjoy sewing with the most and why? Ooh, I don't know, that changes with the wind, but probably knits. Probably cotton jersey if I had to choose anything, just because I just find it so easy to work with. It sort of gives and you can ease it in easily, and then you always end up with a garment that's so wearable and it can be really fast. And yeah, I'm all about the instant gratification some days. So yeah, cotton jersey I think will be my ultimate fabric. Okay. Lou asks, what are your favourite patterns? I had to give this a bit of thought because it's not that simple. I would have, 9 times out of 10, I would err towards filling in the buttons just because I think their instructions are fabulous and the styles are great, and I've never met a Tilly pattern that I don't like. But I would say my absolute favourite are Sew Over It. So there you go. They probably just pip Tilly slightly for me because they have a much more of a range of day-to-day styles and more classic shapes. But it's those two, probably just giving it to Sew Over It. Okay, Crystal asks, how do you wash or pre-treat wool? Ooh, that's a good question. It depends very much on the wool in question. I would handle wool with care. In terms of washing, you can get away with hand washing some wools. Some are machine washable, but personally, like from a buying perspective, often I don't get that information from my supplier as to whether a wool is machine washable. So my advice would always be to cut a small swatch and measure it and then wash it and see how it turns out. You might get away with washing it on your delicate cycle, but machine washing wool isn't something that I generally would recommend because it can felt and shrink. But that being said, you do want to pre-shrink wool, often with a bit of steam. So handle with care is my advice. I would definitely try washing a swatch and seeing how it turns out. But yeah, you don't want it on really fast spins or high temperatures. We don't want to agitate the fibres too much. Okay, and have you chosen your bloggers yet? Yes, I have. Emails have gone out to everybody today, one way or the other. And if you keep your eye on social media, next week I'll be making an announcement with all the new bloggers, so that's exciting. Okay, next question. Where is the best place to start learning bags, etc. or clothing? Either, to be honest. It depends what you're into. Don't make a bag if you don't want to make a bag. If it doesn't interest you, don't go down that route. Like anything, a simple, say, tote bag can be a great place to start learning how to use your machine. But if you really want to learn to make clothes, then you're probably wasting your own time by going down the whole bag making route, because you can get really involved in making bags. So just don't pick a really complicated garment if it's clothes that you want to start with. Okay. E. Scotter asks, self-covered buttons, can you wash the garment with them on? Yes, you can. I am speaking only really about the prim ones that I have in stock. I know that they can be washed up to 60 degrees, but when you cover a button, they clip in really tight. It won't come off in the wash, so yeah, you'll be fine. If you're worried about it, I would turn your garment inside out, and then it's not catching on things in the wash. Okay, oh, this is a good one. Kirsten asks, can I make the Tilly and the Buttons Indigo in a heavier fabric than poplin or viscose? It would be nice to have a warmer version. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, absolutely you can. You can't go too heavy. The thing to bear in mind with the indigo is that it's got a lot of gathers around the waist, so anything too thick, like say like one of these heavier cords, is just not going to gather up nicely. It's going to be too bulky. That being said, I've made the indigo in a cotton gingham, which is actually quite firm, and I do have some customers that have made it in baby cord, which is heavier than a poplin or a viscose, or a nice weight of crepe could be warmer as well. So yeah, you absolutely can. I wouldn't go too heavy, but yeah, you can definitely go thicker than a poplin. And that gingham one that I made, I've been wearing it all year round, so yeah, it's definitely worth trying. Have I used Heat and Bond Soft Stretch, which you've seen on the TV? No, I haven't. I think, is it for hemming knits? Because I've had people asking about steamer seam recently, which is not something that I stock, but I'll have to look into that. I love gingham, but I never know what to make. Which inclusive patterns do you suggest? Ooh. Oh, I love gingham too. For a starter, the Tilly and the Buttons Indigo. I think that goes up to 34. I might be wrong on PDF version. I would say the Cashmerette Rose Claire would be a good option. Friday Pattern Company Wilder Gown. By Hand London Anna. Yeah, and Hannah. That's a nice wrap dress. The Tilly and the Buttons Lyra would be nice in gingham. What else? Oh, So Over It Betty, is that available in the larger size range? We'll have to check that. Loads. Just loads. Yeah, there are a few off the top of my head. But yeah, plenty. Oh, there's a few others in cashmere as well, isn't there? Is it the Upton? I'm gonna get this wrong if I guess, so I'll check. Okay, what is a good fabric to use for leggings? Well, it depends. If you are talking athletic wear type leggings, then you need a good 4-way stretch, which is heavy enough to not be see-through and to have plenty of firm support. So you want a lycra for that. If you're just talking casual leggings, like the kind that you just sort of wear under tunics and things, cotton jersey will actually be fine. I've seen plenty of people make leggings in cotton jersey, especially for children, because you don't really need that 4-way stretch to to the same degree as if you're sort of doing yoga. Okay, and finally, putting on interfacing for a beginner. Mine either doesn't stick properly or jams up my iron. Oh dear, that's no good. So, first things first, I would always use a good quality interfacing. I only sell Vilene in the shop. I've had my fingers burnt literally too many times with cheap interfacings that sort of dissolve in the wash, and you don't want to put all that effort into a garment just to lose the facings. It's not worth it. So you do get what you pay for in some instances. When you're applying it, I would pay attention to what the manufacturer of it is asking for in terms of your iron temperature. You want to knock the steam off. Make sure it's glue side down, obviously, and it's a case of putting your iron down and pressing, not too hard, and lifting and repositioning and pressing again. Don't drag, because if you drag you'll just slip it and bunch it up and make a mess. Sometimes, like for me, I will gently press the piece from the interfacing side and then flip it and press it a bit harder from the right side, if your fabric will allow you to do that. But yeah, we all end up with interfacing gunk on the iron, and a good way to clean it is with a paracetamol, if you didn't know that. And I need to do that because my iron is horrible. So I think that rounds up all the questions that have been asked, but if you do have any more, pop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. I am off tomorrow to a trade show at Birmingham to see HSI Stitches, to go and see what's going on there. I don't think it's going to be as big as in previous years, but last time I went it was great, and got to see loads of new fabrics and things like that, so it's a chance for me to be touchy-feely with other things. So I will be shopping there, and there will be new fabrics on the way after that. So I hope you're all well. I hope you enjoyed this video and it didn't go on too long for you. Sorry, when I start waffling, I start waffling. But I will see you soon. Remember to catch up with me on social media, and take care and have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.